Tartaria dominates the northern half of Asia, but when you reach for a modern schoolbook, that same land is parcelled into Russia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, China, Tartaria gone as if it never was. Between those two pages yawns a silence. It is in that silence that conspiracy, myth, and possibility take root. The erasure of Tartaria raises the central theme of our journey: how civilizations can be not only destroyed, but forgotten by design. If Tartaria was indeed a lost civilization, more advanced, more harmonious, more dangerous to emerging powers, then its removal from maps may be the first step of a deliberate act of oblivion. To erase a name is to erase a people. To bury a history is to bury its warnings, its wonders, its legacy.
Another pathetic attempt by Black Americans to claim an identity. Now it's Tartarian. I thought you niggas was Atlanteans a month ago. Now you're Tartarians, ignoring that they're from Asia.
What if the greatest empire the world has ever known wasn't Rome, wasn't Egypt, wasn't even Atlantis, but a name you were never taught in school? Tartaria. For centuries, its borders stretched across half of Asia.
Its borders covered half of Asia? What is you niggas talking about? Hold up. Is Egypt in America? Is Israel in America? Is Atlantis in America? Or is Tartaria in America? And for that matter, does Asia even exist? Why don't we just start saying Asia doesn't even exist and that's all a figment, it's all AI? Why don't y'all just start saying Asia is AI and don't exist?
For centuries, its borders stretched across half of Asia, etched boldly on maps by explorers, scholars, and kings. Then, without war, without a fall, its name vanished, erased from atlases, deleted from textbooks, buried beneath mud, fire, and silence as if it had never existed. Imagine an entire civilization wiped from memory, its cities entombed beneath our feet, its technologies scattered like forbidden relics, its people absorbed into history's blind spots. Who had the power to erase a civilization on this scale? And what secret was so dangerous it had to be hidden from the future? Tonight we'll open that locked door in history and step into the forgotten halls of Tartaria. The maps, the myths, the ruins, they are still here, whispering. All we have to do is listen. Picture a map unfolding before you. The parchment is yellowed, edges curled by centuries, yet across its surface stretches a vast dominion, Great Tartary, spanning from the Caspian Sea to the Pacific, swallowing Siberia, Central Asia, and northern China into one massive name. On maps drawn by Dutch cartographers in the 1600s, French atlases of the 1700s, even German engravings of the 1800s, Tartaria appears not as an empty wilderness, but as a defined realm, subdivided into Chinese Tartary, Russian Tartary, independent Tartary. Rival nations agreed on its presence, even if they contested each other on every other detail of the world. Yet as the 19th century ended, Tartaria vanished. One edition of a map shows it boldly, the next omits it entirely, as though a great civilization had been erased with a stroke of ink. What was Tartaria? Historians now insist it was never an empire, merely a catch-all label for nomadic peoples. Turkic tribes, Mongols, Tatars roaming the Eurasian steppe. But this explanation falters when confronted with the consistency and precision of cartographic records. Why so many centuries of maps, drawn by hands scattered across Europe, depict Tartaria with defined borders, capitals, and provinces? If it were just a vague placeholder, why did it persist so long, then disappear so suddenly? Some theorists whisper of a cover-up, a deliberate erasure. They point to the way Russia expanded into Siberia, slowly consuming territories once marked as Tartarian, absorbing their names into its own. They suggest the rewriting of atlases was not innocent progress, but a calculated effort to bury a civilization whose existence threatened the official narrative of history. After all, maps are more than geography. They are instruments of memory and power. To redraw a boundary is to reshape reality, and there is more than ink on paper. Legends across Central Asia speak of a golden kingdom of towers and domes, humming with strange energy, swept away in cataclysm. Russian chronicles hint at rival dynasties long forgotten. Even Marco Polo, travelling through the region in the 13th century, described wealthy cities far beyond the frontiers of Europe, ruled by khans whose palaces gleamed with unimaginable splendour. Could these fragments be echoes of a Tartarian state whose traces were later scrubbed clean? Imagine standing in a library today, opening a dusty atlas from 1750. Your eyes drift across the page, following familiar names. Persia, India, Cathay, and then, in vast letters, Tartaria dominates the northern half of Asia. But when you reach for a modern schoolbook, that same land is parcelled into Russia, Kazakhstan, Mongolia, China. Tartaria gone as if it never was. Between those two pages yawns a silence. It is in that silence that conspiracy, myth, and possibility take root. The erasure of Tartaria raises the central theme of our journey: how civilizations can be not only destroyed, but forgotten by design. If Tartaria was indeed a lost civilization, more advanced, more harmonious, more dangerous to emerging powers, then its removal from maps may be the first step of a deliberate act of oblivion. To erase a name is to erase a people. To bury a history is to bury its warnings, its wonders, its legacy.